Welcome, friends. Today in the kitchen, we are going to attempt to make root beer ice cream. I'm not terribly sure how this is going to work out, but we're going to give it a go. Since we've got all the roots, we made root beer. Why not take all of the roots, steep them into the cream, and see if we can get that flavor into a really nice ice cream. So I've got 35% cream, also known as whipping cream in most places. I'm going to put that in a pot, and the pot is on sort of medium-low heat. We don't want to bring this up to a boil. We just want to get it really nice and warm to extract all of the flavors. We also need it hot so that we can temper the eggs later. We're making a custard, essentially. Next in is evaporated milk. And I am definitely one of those people who hate recipes that only use a part can, and we're only going to use a part can here. But unfortunately, this is the maximum that our ice cream churning machine will take. So, you have about 250 mils of evaporated milk, and I'm going to mix that in with the cream. Now, in goes some salt, brown sugar, and I'm using brown sugar to enhance all of the earthy flavors that we're going to get from these roots. Next in is chopped ginger root. Doesn't have to be chopped too finely, just enough so that we're going to get some of the flavor out. Some cinnamon bark, and this is some crazy cinnamon bark that I got in St. Lucia. Really sharp flavor. I like it in baked things, and I think it's going to work really well in this ice cream. Next are the really classic root beer flavors. This is wild cherry bark, licorice root, sarsaparilla root, and sassafras root. Now we're just going to stir that in, and we're going to watch it very carefully that it doesn't boil. Now this is probably a good place to talk about the sassafras root. On the root beer video, in the comment section below, there were quite a few people who were in complete freak out mode that sassafras root was illegal. Sassafras root is not illegal. You can buy it quite openly. I'm in Canada. I bought it from a company in the United States. It crossed the border. It went through customs. Everything was fine. It's not illegal. It is banned from being used in commercially prepared root beers. So all of the big root beer makers can't use sassafras root unless the compound, one specific compound, is removed, and that compound is safrole. So there was a study in the 1950s, and safrole was fed to rats. And if you know anything about science studies using rats, they force feed the rats at rates much beyond what any human would ever consume. And I've read reports that say these rats were forced to consume the equivalent of 9,000 gallons of root beer. Or if a human was drinking it, 9,000 gallons of root beer. The numbers are mind-boggling, and they got cancer. And safrole was the thing they pointed at. That study has been disputed and at this point disproven. And later studies proved that it was no more dangerous, safrole was no more dangerous than breathing air or drinking water. And if you're interested in safrole, it's also found in other spices and herbs that you use all the time, like cinnamon or nutmeg. It's found in basil. Certainly in far lower quantities, but it's still in there. And I don't think I know anyone who's going to drink 9,000 gallons of root beer in a year. That's 24 gallons of root beer each and every day. I just don't think it's going to happen. So if you're worried about safrole giving you cancer, leave it out. If that really worries you. For the rest of us, do a little bit of research and take a risk analysis and look at it and say, I'm not worried about it because I might only drink maybe 2 or 3 liters of root beer in an entire year, and I might make this ice cream once. So there are other things that are going to hurt me long before the safrole will. So we're watching this closely. We're stirring it and making sure that it doesn't boil, but we certainly want to bring it up to probably 175 or 180 degrees Fahrenheit. just so that we can steep some of those flavors together. Okay, this is pretty much steeped at this point. I think we've got most of the flavor out that we're going to get. Just a moment more, and while that is just finishing up, I have 5 egg yolks here, and I'm just going to whisk them a little bit, just to loosen them up. And if you're wondering what to do with 5 egg whites, I will list a bunch of recipes in the description box that you can do with egg whites. Okay, now we'll just strain out the roots and the bark, and I've got a double strainer here. Okay, so this is still hot. I'm going to be able to temper the egg yolks, and you just want to dribble this in slowly. You're trying to accomplish a number of different things here. You want a nice, smooth, custardy texture. You don't want to cook the egg, but you still want to pasteurize it. And this milk is hot enough to pasteurize this egg. So, very slowly just drizzle it in. Whisking all the time. Now, a little bit of vanilla extract. Whisk that in. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the fridge overnight. I'm going to put a cover on it and stick it in the fridge. I have the benefit of time. I don't need this right away. But you certainly do want to make sure that this chills down completely before you put it in an ice cream maker. Putting warm batter in a cold ice cream maker slows the whole process down. The ice cream doesn't freeze as quickly as you want it to, causing ice crystals, and you don't want ice crystals. You want this to freeze as quickly as possible, so making sure it's fully chilled is great. Into the fridge, and we will freeze it tomorrow. Okay, this has been in the fridge overnight, and it is a custard, so it might have thickened a little bit. It's always a good idea to take a whisk and just break it up before you put it into the ice cream machine. So this ice cream maker is the type with a compressor inside. It's self-chilling. I've got it down to minus 38 degrees Celsius at this point, and you just pour in the batter. Press start, and we wait. That's going to be good. Oh, that's going to be good, real good. Okay, it's done churning, and I'm going to turn that off, because every time I hear that music, I picture Steve Buscemi in an ice cream truck, and it's not a very nice picture to have in your brain. So, the ice cream is done. Now, it doesn't matter how good your ice cream maker is. Most of them are only going to get you to the point of soft serve, and you have to put them in the freezer to sort of finish and firm up a bit. So I'm going to transfer this to a glass bowl that I've had in the freezer. It's already cold, and then we'll give it a taste in a little while.
All right, so you're experimenting.
I'm experimenting with root beer ice cream.
So did you just put the concentrate in, or did you make a full root beer and put it in?
I used the roots. I took the roots and steeped the roots into the milk and cream.
So you didn't take the concentrate that we already made for beverages?
No,
okay,
no.
Straight up.
Yes, I thought this one, the concentrate had too much water in it, I thought, which would add ice crystals. So I thought maybe if I just put the flavor right into the cream.
That's got that root beery flavor.
It smelled a lot like root beer when I was making it.
It's definitely a root beer flavored ice cream. And what's interesting is it's got a bit of an earthy, not a bad earthy tone. You know, earthy is sometimes like, wow, I got dirt in my mouth. No, I don't mean that. It's got a very natural flavor,
yeah.
perhaps is what I should say.
So that's the roots combined with brown sugar to give it that sort of round root beer taste. I mean, that is root beer ice cream.
Okay, but this leads me to one challenge, though.
What?
traditional root beer float, root beer plus vanilla ice cream. This would be like an inverted one. So what do you put it in? What do you mix a root beer ice cream with?
Cream soda.
Remember?
So you use cream soda and you put the root beer ice cream in it for the float?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
So this is really good. I think the root beer flavor is definitely there. It's a little bit subtle.
I will say that it's not for everybody. You have to like root beer.
You have to like root beer. And if you really like root beer, you could ramp up the amount of root that you use to sort of bring that flavor even farther forward. For me, I think this is just about right.
I'm clearly not having any problem.
I'm not having
it
no.
all, as I quickly seem to finish it off.
So if you like root beer and you're making root beer and you already have the roots, give this a try. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.